G'day humans, Chris Stead here. Today I'm reviewing this spectacular beast, the Prado 250 series. Is this still the best four-wheel drive in Australia? Let's find out. Now I realise when I say best, I'm probably starting a few fires there, but you know, for me, the Prado has been the best four-wheel drive in Australia. I drive a 120 series Prado every single day. You know what, when the 150 came out, I did give it a crack, that first variant of the 150, and I just really didn't rate it. Found it compromised too much on space, and also didn't quite have the power that I wanted, just, you know, out of the gates and up steep hills. It was just a bit gutless for my liking, as they were just flexing their muscle on that Hilux engine for the first time. So you imagine how excited I am being a Prado fan to be able to get my hands on the 250 series, and not just any model, but the Kakadu model as well, the top of the range. So that's, you know, how does it go? Does it actually live up to my extremely high expectations, or am I going to have to stick with my 120, which I'm currently bashing around the bush and also taking to kids soccer and things like that, which is not particularly well suited for because it guzzles a ton of petrol. But that's what we're going to find out in my review. And I do want to state at the top, I did try, as I do with all my four-wheel drive reviews, get some off-road footage, but unfortunately the footage didn't work out. So I do apologise for that. But needless to say, this thing's a beast off the roads as much as it is on, which is what we're going to talk about. Now, starting with the price, you can get the GX, the base GX, for about 72,000 here in Australia. If you want to step it up to this model, the Kakadu, you're looking at 99,900, so just under that $100,000 mark. Now, where does that sit relatively? So you can get like the Ford Everest, which would be kind of a, you know, a strong contender in the space. That's about 54,000 here in Australia, the base model anyway. But then the base model Patrol, that's about 88,000. So you can get it. You can get something that's going to be a reasonably quality four-wheel drive experience for a fair bit less, but also, you know, a little bit more. So, you know, there's always a bit of mayonnaise on the top of any sort of Toyota pricing, because it's Toyota and it's like, you know, one of Australia's most favourite, if not the favourite brand here in the four-wheel drive and off-road space. But it's definitely a little bit more expensive than what we saw with previous models in the series. But, you know, what are you getting for your money? So I'll start just by running through the base specifications, and then from there I'll talk about the specifics of this Kakadu model, because obviously things step up. So here we have a 2.8 litre turbo diesel with a 48 volt mild hybrid system. So there's a little bit of electric help in there, but it's definitely not a full hybrid and obviously not full electric. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more, because usually the Prados, you know, they might cost you a fair bit, but they hold their value amazingly well. And I'm not sure that's going to be the case this time around, because there is a full hybrid model available overseas that hasn't come to Australia yet. But it's rumoured to be coming to Australia. Plus, we're seeing some serious movement in the full electric space. They are starting to get to a place with those types of vehicles and tech where they can be genuine off-road contenders here in Australia. So the coming in with what is not a full hybrid, and certainly isn't full electric in 2025, maybe it won't hold the value like they used to. But anyway, power-wise, looking at 150 kilowatts of power and 500 newton meters of torque. Now it's got an 8-speed automatic transmission in it. So if you see my Toyota Land Cruiser review, that bumped up to 10 speed with that one. It also costs $145,000 for the top level Sahara ZX, I think it is. Yeah, 8-speed automatic in the Prado 250 series. It's a full-time four-wheel drive, so it's always in four-wheel drive mode, but you can obviously drop it into a high, low or low. Fuel economy, look, the claimed fuel economy is 7.6 litres per 100 kilometres, which is obviously really good. I don't think you're going to be getting that too often around here, driving around the streets of Sydney anyway, and then heading out bush every now and again. But it's still, you know, infinitely better than my 120, which is lucky to get under 20 litres per 100 k's. So things are definitely improved there, and it's not far off, I think where the 150 was for the best possible result. But it's a bit better than the 150 when it comes to just like your general like stop-start commuting style fuel economy. Either way, it's pretty good. So the fuel tank capacity is 110 litres, so way down from the 180 that I've got on my 120, but still you're getting better Ks out of this anyway. That 110's easily going to do you 1,000 Ks. And that's all I get out of my 120 with 180 litres. So yes, the fuel tank capacity is down, but you're still getting some pretty decent Ks out of that. Towing capacity is up to 3,500 kilograms, that's braked of course. Ground clearance is 210 millimeters. So it actually, rides quite high. Now the overall length is just under 5 meters long, just under 2 meters wide, and just under 2 meters tall. So if you're looking at 1.8 meter, 1.9 meter garages, you're not going to fit in it with this car. You're looking for 2 meter, 2.1 or more than that if you want to get into a parking station. So it's something to consider because it can catch you out. Now the cargo capacity, I know I talk a little bit more about this, but it's up to 1895 litres if you have all the seats folded. That's in the base model. That's with 5 seats. Once you get to the 7-seat models, that definitely drops back. If you don't have the seats folded, it's 950 odd litres. Now just looking at the off-road capabilities, you've got an approach angle of 31 degrees, a departure angle of 17 degrees, a 700 millimeter wading depth. You've got double wishbone suspension on the front and multi-link suspension on the rear. And off-road features like crawl control, downhill assist, multi-terrain select, a lockable central diff, and you get more as you go up the kind of trims. You get a bit more off-road features, but it's very off-road feature rich. It makes any terrain pretty easy to drive on. Interior features, the infotainment unit's 12.3 inch, touchscreen of course. You got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. In the base model, there's a 10 speaker setup and the upholstery is fabric. There's dual zone automatic climate control and a 7-inch digital display as well for your instrument cluster. On the safety front, you've got autonomous or emergency braking as standard. Then you've got the Toyota Safety Sense Suite, which is a whole bunch of stuff, including adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, and more. Again, those do tend to change a little bit as you go up the trims. And speaking of which, if we're just looking specifically at the Kakadu model, on the outside, you're looking at 20-inch alloy wheel bump, body-coloured bumper trims, illuminated side steps, and the panoramic sunroof, which is really quite cool. It's a full-length sunroof. On the interior side, you're going to get leather-accented upholstery, heated and ventilated front and second row seats, 8-way power adjustable driver seat and a 4-way power adjustable passenger seat, a refrigerated central console, and it bumps up to 14 speaker premium sound system from JBL. As I mentioned, you get some more off-road features such as adaptive variable suspension, Torsen limited slip rear differential for enhanced traction, and multi-terrain monitor with cameras so you get better kind of visibility of your surrounds. You also get some more safety stuff such as the adaptive cruise control with customizable settings, blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert, driver attention monitoring and rear occupant alert, and 9 airbags for comprehensive safety. So that's all on the Kakadu model. So let's talk a little bit about the design of the car. And I've got to admit, when I first saw photos of this, when it first kind of flashed up and was revealed, I was like, oh dear, what have they done? I was really caught off guard by it. It's such a different look. And my first instinct was like, ugh, I don't like that. But now that I've actually spent some time with it and been able to appreciate it a little bit more, I've actually pretty quickly fallen in love with it. It's actually a beautiful car. It's got this kind of like future retro, like retro futuristic feel and vibe to it. Like a lot of it feels very retro. You'll see that when we go inside the car as well. But then it's got all this amazing future tech in it. And look at this front end, it's just boss. It's just beautiful, beautiful front end. I love the bonnet. It's really nice to look over when you're driving. It's just kind of got this beautiful shape to it. And all the way around it, when you kind of look at the various character quirks and start looking at it closer and closer and closer, you'll see it's kind of polygonal effect to it. There's always a little bit of character somewhere, somewhere in a pillar, somewhere in the way that it's all laid out. There's just a lot of effort and thought, I think, has been put into the design of this. And the more time that I'm spending with it, the more I'm just noticing little subtle, cool character quirks. What it doesn't feel like is something that's just rolled out of America, which is what I felt like the Land Cruiser, like the Big Daddy Land Cruiser 300 series. But it compromised itself, I think, a little bit by trying to be almost too American. This doesn't feel like that at all. It feels like its own unique beast and it feels really good. And like, have you come around here, for example, and you can see kind of the mirrors and that kind of square boxy shape around. There's just fun little character quirks. Here's just one example, but you can see here to open up the glass back, they've just built this, an extra little detail in here for the button so that you can pop the boot, pop this up, like so. Just nice little things like that. So I think I actually love the design. I think it's actually a really, really cool looking car. Now inside the car, the design is also quite awesome. Not perfect, but pretty awesome. I love this dash. I think it's fantastic. I love the way that they've built the screen kind of into this kind of compartment. It all feels like it's one very distinct unit. Obviously, this is the top of the range, so everything's, the seating, everything's a bit more bit nicer to the touch. It's all leather trim, everything like that. There's a bit more feature and function going on, but you can see there's a lot of buttons. But what I really like is how that future retro style vibe to it, where you've still got these kind of old school vents, and you've still got lots of knobs and dials and a proper stick and things that you can turn and things that you can flick on and flick up and flick down, and all that kind of cool stuff that we remember. Those of us who have been driving four-wheel drives for 30 plus years, all those great things of our formative years, they're here. But then you've got this great touch screen. You've got this fantastic HUD down here that has, it repositions all the kind of classic tachometer stuff in a digital form. You get a holographic up here of your speed and so forth through the vision mirror. There's just, I just think it's really, really cool. This particular model, the Kakadu model, it's got this great double row length sunroof. Now sunroofs can be a bit, I'm a bit like this with sunroofs in Australia. I've never had one that hasn't leaked, ever. And they're pretty hard to keep open in the Australian sun because you just get fried, especially when you start getting a bald spot. But I have really loved driving with this open, and it is actually a pretty cool perk, I must admit. The mirror, the visibility is really good. Like this bit here felt a little chunky when I first got in the car, and I was like looking and I was like, oh geez, that takes up a lot of space. But driving it around, the visibility is really good. You see a lot. And this actually doesn't show you the classic mirror experience. It actually shows you a TV, or a screen, showing you basically a video feed of what's out the back. It's pretty hard to adjust to, but it's still cool. That's that future stuff that's kind of bringing in. Now, it's not all positive. So if you're short, this is a pretty high dash. And I think some people, maybe elderly in the passenger seat, or kids, if you've got them, they're going to struggle to see over the dash in general and kind of get over that hump and over the bonnet. So that could be a bit of a concern. There's not much storage space. So if you look down here in the glove compartment, like it's not very deep, it's not very big, it's already filled with just the usual paraphernalia. And then in this particular model, you've got a cooler box, which is really neat. It's really nice to have a cooler box, but that's taking up half your center console. And even if you didn't have this, it's not really that big. Then other than that, you've got over here some bottle holders, a place for your phone, obviously, where it's just going to sit there and charge it. All of that stuff works fantastic. And then just a couple of side places for your bottle and stuff. But there's not a heck of a lot of storage for a big car. Now, if we get into the back here, this is a bit problematic. So I understand that I'm a big guy sitting behind a seat that's in a big guy's position, but my knees do not fit by quite a bit. So if I was sitting here, then my 6 foot, 13-year-old son can't sit behind me. But even worse, and you probably can't see it unless you come over here, is that my head is hitting the roof. Like I can't actually fit in by a bit. So I don't know if you can see that, but I basically got to sit, I'm a good inch too tall at least, probably 2 inches too tall to sit in this car without my head being on the roof. And it doesn't matter, I can't even sit in the middle because the sunroof is there anyway. So that's a frustrating thing for a big car, for a really big car, for someone my size to be completely compromised sitting in the back. I just don't think that's okay. It should be more space, right? So if that could just impinge your thoughts on this depending on how big you are as a family, where your kids are in their journey to being adults. If you're someone who looks like they've got, going to have some big gangly teenagers, and you've got 3 kids like I do, and they're going to be sandwiched in the back there on long trips, and you're buying this car for long trips, that's why you get one of these things, because you're going to go miles into the middle of Australia. That's a bit of a problem, but it's only going to impinge a few people. And then we've got the boot, which is also a bit of an issue for me. So, I'm buying a big car because I want a lot of space, and you want to be able to just chuck a kid's bike in there. I do it all the time with the 120 series. Just chuck the bike, just chuck 2 or 3 bikes in there. Surfboards, all the camping gear, everything like that. And so you've got two things. First off, you've got that really annoying beeping sound. This thing does make a lot of beeps at you. Toyotas tend to do that and lock you out of the screen when you want it to be able to use it and things like that. But anyway, so I do love that it's a backward opening door now, not sideways opening. It's heaps better. It's the fact that you can push something on the button and it opens. You got shelter from the rain. You can do it when you're carrying all your stuff. But then when you look inside here, we do have seats here for 7. Okay, now I love having seats for 7. I want 7 seats, but you can see how much of the boot how much it's taking up. Now that wouldn't be a problem if you could take them out, but you can't. So they're there and you can't get them out. So that's a compromised boot space completely. Now obviously other versions of the Prado 250 only have 5-seaters and all that boot space opens back up. But on the 7-seaters, it's definitely compromised. The overall boot size is slightly compromised because I believe that hybrid, what they call it, mild hybrid battery it's sitting under here, so it's a bit higher in general than previous Prados, but that still would have been a big space. But yeah, it's just a compromised boot space compared to what you're used to. They've also got this here, which is it's good. You can fit kids in there. It's got side things for your water bottles and stuff. Like, it's cool to have the seats, don't get me wrong. I just wish I could pop them out for the vast amount of times when I don't need 7 seats. Now here, this all comes with this storage box, which brings it up to height, so it allows you to lie things flat on there, which is a good thing, but it's crazy flimsy. So, yeah. So it's just a very, well, the rest of the car is so spick and so awesome. This one little element is just really cheap and nasty. It's cool to have it. You can put your umbrellas and wet stuff in there and stuff at the beach and so forth. But yeah, ultimately that boot space is compromised. Okay, let's talk about the driving experience. And I want to start by letting you listen to that beautiful diesel purr that this car starts with. Oh, I love it. Sounds great. Does beep a lot at you though, this car. So the driving experience. It is such a lovely car to drive. It's super light on its feet. It really turns very nimbly. It's effortless to drive in that regard. The turning circle on it is surprisingly good. I wasn't expecting it to have such a nice turning circle. It's like some of the Toyotas I've had in the past are shockers with their turning circles, but not in the case here. It easily gets into parking spots. That kind of like urban side of the experience is really, really good. That off-road experience is really, really good. The various ways that it helps, so there's so many different kind of assists, but they're for the most part really subtle. Like they almost chip in like they know what you want before you even try and activate anything, and sometimes you don't even know if it's on, and then something will happen and you go, oh no, it is on. So I'm really happy with those sides of the driving experience because I hate an over-aggressive assist. But it basically means that if you're someone who's just getting into off-roading, or even if you're an advanced off-roader, you're going to get basically, it's going to help you through most terrains, if not all terrain situations, without too many issues at all. Like, the car's built for it without a doubt. Now, one of the great things I do love about the car as well is its power. That was one of the things that really annoyed me with the 150 series, especially that initial engine that they ran with, was it just wouldn't go up a hill very well. This car, on the other hand, has plenty of guts. In fact, I'll throw the accelerator down now. But there's a big steep hill near my house that I'm going up at the moment, and I've got it on this sport mode, and it would just not stop accelerating the whole way up. Like, easily up over 100, no shadow of a doubt. Unfortunately, it's a 60 zone, but so the power's there. Now, when you scroll back to Eco, I think there's 5 driving modes: Eco, Comfort, something, Normal maybe, and then Sport and Sport Plus. And you do notice a difference. Like on Eco, it still goes up the hill, it still accelerates, so it's got a lot less, boom, going for it at the time. But overall, the power's there. And I've seen a few people complain about the acceleration and so forth. I'm not noticing it. I think it's got, for a big car with a 2.8 litre diesel engine, I'm actually pretty happy with the jump off the line, and I'm pretty happy with, they said overall power, it's there when you want it. Now, The suspension or the roll in that's a bit of a different story. So what I found is that it's fine over bumps. Like, I think it handles the bumps quite well. There's a section near my house here where there's 23 speed bumps in a row, and I hit all of them in a row. You know, like, yeah, but it's fine. And off road, it's fine. I think that kind of up and down is good. I think the rocker nose to tail is pretty good as well. I find that no issues there, but that body roll is a bit more than I would have hoped for. So there's a fair bit of body sway, and it's like the car's riding pretty high, but I just would have thought in this day and age, with a new modern car, that it would have been a little bit more tighter and a little bit more stable going around off-camber turns or turns at any sort of speed. And the leather trim here with the Kakadu definitely doesn't help in that regard, because, you know, you can slide a bit on the actual seat as well. But yeah, I'm not over the moon about the body roll, but it's not enough to turn me off, especially because I'm driving a 120 and that thing moves all over the place. The 8-speed transmission, that's probably the only part of the performance which I'm not overly excited about. I have found it to over rev a bit, and also just clunk. It's not that seamless transition. And I remember when I jumped in and did a review of the Toyota Land Cruiser 300 series, and it's got a 10-speed transmission in that one, and it was just buttery smooth. It was beautiful. It's not the case here. It's still you still kind of feel it go left and right, and you can definitely hear the noise outside. I don't know if that's a fair criticism. I mean, it's a four-wheel drive diesel, but the cabin definitely isn't trapping the outside sound massively, you know, as much as you might have hoped. Fuel consumption wise, I think it pretty much does what they've suggested it will. You know, like off the 110 litres, you're easily getting 1,000 Ks, and you know, you can get actually substantially more than that depending on how you drive. I'm a pretty aggressive driver, but you know, that's pretty good. You know, for a diesel car of this size, just to be able to kind of drive from here to Brisbane without stopping at I'm in Sydney, from Sydney to Brisbane without having to stop at any point, is definitely relieving in a country that's so huge as us, and when you're going to be, you know, doing some serious distances off-road. But you know, overall, absolutely been really enjoying the driving experience here with the Prado 250 series. It's really nice to drive. So at the top, I mentioned that I was pretty disappointed by the 150 series. In fact, I ended up just sticking with the 120 and not making a shift up. But when it comes to 250, you know, I'm pretty tempted. It's not everything that I want it to be, especially with that compromised back row and compromised boot space. There's a few different places here and there where it could absolutely improve the experience, but overall, it's just such a comfortable drive. And I love where the power's at. I love that I can get those, you know, those long drives without having to go near a petrol station. And I just think it looks beautiful. And it's got such a cool design and well thought out design to it. So yeah, I'm pretty sweet on it. I like this, I like the Prado 250 series. Anyway, I'm Chris Stead. Make sure you keep an eye on my channel. There's always plenty of stuff going up about the latest and greatest in cars, not to mention tech and lots of other niches as well. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I'll check you later. You.